Hi. If you're new here and you haven't seen my channel before, welcome. Go ahead and consider subscribing to my channel. If you are not new here, you've been here before, you've been to my channel before, welcome back. And hope you'll enjoy what we're going to be discussing today. Okay, so we're now in mid-year. We're now hitting June. We've had 6 months of a lot of surprising things happening in the global reality. A lot of things, a lot of exclosures, a lot of violence, a lot of wars, a lot of conflict. Our economies globally are in a mess. There's war, what they call it, oil wars between Iran and America. Iran closing the ports of the imports of oil globally. So the price of oil increase. Prices of oil increases, that means that everything else will just increase. The production costs also begin to increase as well, because your basic element that you're using for any production is now expensive and scarce, and it affects your prices of your production because everything goes up in price. And then people lose jobs as well, because organizations tend to kind of limit the number of employees when it comes to economical hardships. Not only people or homes have been affected globally, but also corporations and companies that employ people, because they're trying to find ways of saving cost. So now it's 2026, and we've been promised that this year spiritually is going to be a very emotionally charged year, because a lot of things are going to be exposed, a lot of things are going to be also happening and changing on a global scale. Right? Things like surges of xenophobia, which is just basically based on fear of, for example, foreigners, people that you don't know. In times of scarcity, people feel there's competition for everything. In times of hardship, people feel they need to struggle and fight for what they have to survive. So, xenophobia is a global problem, not only based in Africa or Southern Africa, may I say, although xenophobia can be very, very, very violent. It can trigger a lot of emotions, and people get violent and start hurting other people because they feel under attack. Basically, scarcity is really not a good thing at all. Scarcity is a feeling that I cannot survive, and now I need to find somebody to blame for my current situation. So I'll point to a soft target, somebody that I can see with my eyes, who's not from my country, not from my nationality. So that person is now attacking my survival or my means to survive. That's what it's all about. Xenophobia is based on fear of the unknown, fear of the other person that you deem to be your enemy. Now, crime. Crime is another animal altogether. Crime and corruption in most African countries is very, very rife. Very, very rife, because of the system and the governments in place in Africa, all over Africa. Go to Congo, go to any African country, go to Zimbabwe, you go to Mozambique, go to Malawi, you will find corruption and crime. They go hand in hand, they are sisters. Now, where there's corruption and crime, there is scarcity. There is a huge amount of people that are living in lack. They are struggling economically. Now, politics is spiritual. The reason why I'm saying that is that anything involving people is very, very spiritual. Politics involves people in authority making decisions for the people. They don't even know, they don't know these people, but they're making decisions on behalf of those people because of the democratic voting system. Now, we all know that whole voting system is flawed. It's based on a lot of things that people who vote don't know. They don't see the back end of politics and voting system. Now, every party needs to have an agenda. We need to have an agenda to say, well, this is how I'm going to target my collective's emotion so they can vote for me. Poverty is one of the biggest things in Africa, okay? And maybe in Southern Africa, is it Asia, and also in is it South America as well, where there is lack of resources and disenfranchised populations. That causes a lot of poverty. And yet, if you look at the history of so-called poverty in third world countries on a global scale, it all started in 1884, may I say. Yeah, in 1884 to 1885, when Otto Bismarck and his friends get together in a Berlin conference to decide that they're going to divide these undeveloped countries, namely Africa, and take resources for their own industrial revolution that was going on at that time. So they decided to go and claim ownership of these territories and take their resources. And I had a little bit of different strategies of approaching the indigenous people in Africa and maybe also in South America. Sorry. So see what I mean? When somebody has an intention and his intention is to take from you, it affects you on a mass scale. It'll affect you and the generations to come. When somebody comes to your home and takes what he wants from you by force, and doesn't consider you, because in this Berlin conference in 1884 to 1885, they never include any African leaders, because as far as they're concerned, there were no leaders there. They didn't think there were human beings with life and consciousness there. All they were after was the resources of the land. Okay, and then I come through and I find, oh, there's real people that speak and breed and they live another lifestyle. So they come up with strategies, missionaries. Let's save the lost demonic human beings, black human beings. Remember that if you in a place and you're isolated from a certain group of people and they come to you in big ships, obviously you're going to see them as more superior. You see, there is a saying that in Africa, a lot of the African tribes at the time, when they saw these travelers from America, travelers from Europe coming through in ships, they were quite curious, but also afraid, and also at awe at seeing these big ships. I'd never seen this before. And these people are wearing clothes, and they're not wearing clothes. These people are carrying weapons, things that they've never seen before. So obviously they're more developed. You understand that? That will strike fear. Now, there is a spiritual attack. Politics is very spiritual because politics involves manipulating and romancing a group of people to actually vote for you, convincing them that somehow you are their savior. You understand? So when you are doing that, you are gaslighting somebody and not being truthful. There is a spiritual attack. You understand? That's why politics is very spiritual. It has everything to do with human beings. It has everything to do with our lives here on this earth. And when a more superior, more powerful group of people who sat and discussed it and divided the continent before they even came here, without discussing, without involving the indigenous people in all these discussions in 1884, Otto Bismarck was a catalyst of this whole drama, because apparently in history, he's written as the leader of this whole concept that divided nations and silenced cultures and silenced groups of people. And they created this invisible fake borders because they divided between each other. The French, the Spanish, the British, everybody took a piece. And then they began gaslighting them with their Western religion and a Western culture and a Western so-called education. And it was done, this is now 142 years later. 142 years later, and we still have this whole economical system brought about with this industrial revolution that was none of the African people's business. They were living their own indigenous lives, doing their own thing, and these people came and took over. You understand? And the people say, but that's so long ago, it's history to the past. The history feeds into the future, especially if there's a lot of repercussions, like negative repercussions that disempower people, that take away what belongs to them by force. And then you say it's a system, you put in a system of capitalism, money, open, what they call it, open or shared markets, open market or shared market. You come with your own way of living and you bring it to another place and you deem these people um, not even relevant, and you'll divide everything, and then you 142 or 45 years later, you're thinking why they're still talking about the past, because the past has really influenced the now, and taking acknowledgement on why the state of the world is the way it is, because it's led by a bunch of narcissists, people that don't think about what they are doing to people. When you decide I'm going to have a war with Iran and all those things and conflicts, you don't think about the bigger picture, because you're big America, you can take over, you're powerful. Not thinking about the problems that you and repercussions you're actually causing. You understand? So you have a conflict with a certain country, right? That country has so much power, and then you with intention starts a war, and they start bombing each other up and down, bombing up and down. In the next minute, there's problems with oil circulation and stuff like that, and that affects the whole global economy. So you're sitting so powerful, but you will not take accountability of the state of the world, because you're sitting there so powerful, controlling the whole world, because you're not getting the effects personally, because you have your money that shields you, you have your wealth that shields you, but the lower people in other countries that are depending on economical stability in their own countries to have a form of happiness and peace. So, and that's how we have things like xenophobia. Xenophobia is based on lack, on struggle. Go do your research on what xenophobia is. It's not about hating your neighbor, the same race or the different race. It's about you wanting to survive, and feeling that you cannot survive. Hello, sweetie pie. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining my life. Today we're talking about politics is very spiritual. So when you are voting as a person, wherever you are in any country, think about this whole voting concept, because you're writing your intention on the sand. Your intention is to vote for these people you don't even know. You don't even understand the democratic political system that's running this global system, backed by the capitalism as well, which is the free markets and stuff like that. You understand? Where a person from another country can come into your country with a higher currency and open businesses, or maybe just to live and operate from your country. Open businesses, yes, to create employment. Okay. And then more people come in, and then prices of things go up, because when people locate or move from one country to another, especially if you're going from a wealthy, uh, economically wealthy and a vibrant country, and you have currency wealth that you're holding the dollar, the Canadian dollar, whatever dollar you're holding it, you understand, and you're taking that money there to that country, meaning you can afford much more than those people that are locally there. So you come there, and then more people come after you, like hundreds of people flock there to the new mecca of the world, where life is more cheaper, because again, people from the Western countries, from higher currency countries, powerful currency countries, want to relocate to places that are much more cheaper and more easier economically, and less tax. Now, if you compare the global taxes, okay, the American tax system, similar to, for example, Southern Africa now, Southern Africa being the only African country with a similar Western tax system, right? The rest of Africa doesn't have the same type of tax systems, a bit different. South Africans are the most taxed people, highly taxed Africans in Africa, basically. Okay, the tax we pay in Africa in Southern Africa is huge compared to other African countries, because we have a system here that's mirrored or based on the Western economical system, very based on that, right? That's why South Africa was called at one stage the big brother of Africa, because of the same story, because of the way the infrastructure here in Southern Africa was advanced like in other advanced countries, because South Africa, the only African country that had an extended colonization period. It was colonization, and then there was the apartheid, which is a branch of colonization, where you control people, mess people in such a bad way that these people live in fear even to walk in the streets. You must have a dome passer, you must have a document, you must abide to a curfew, you must walk through a certain door, and because you're not allowed to walk through the front door, you must go through the back door, all those things. Now remember that everything is spiritual, everything is energy. Nothing goes away. It's a memory, it's an ancestral memory, it's an ancestral pain for every black person in this country, in Southern Africa, in South Africa. It's ancestral pain, like how colonization is still ancestral pain for the whole of Africa and South America and even Asia. India had their own blend of colonization, their own story regards to colonization. And look at India today. After these leeches go to all these countries and take what they want to take, these countries are left devastated. And then they still come and still take more resources, like how France continues to do the same thing. A lot of the French colonies now started fighting against the French control because of the very same thing. 145 years later, you still want to come and take. You haven't taken enough. And now certain areas of Africa, you've got a stronghold there. You're holding on so tight to Southern Africa. It's ridiculous. South Africa, it's totally ridiculous because of the system that was actually put in place very, very early in our history. Very, very early. So now you're looking at history and you're wondering, how can the wrongs be made right? Okay, so they tell you to look at your black brother. Your black brother is your problem. The one that came from another country looking for a better life, a better way of living, that wants to experience something different. There is nobody in this world that can stop people from traveling and relocating to different countries. I've got family myself who's not living currently in South Africa. They're all over the globe. New Zealand, Australia. Or they're supposed to be chased out because they're not from there. Because you see these countries I'm talking about are not feeling the economical burden of what's currently going on with the Trump-Iran wars and all those things. They're not feeling the prices of petrol increasing three times in 1 month. It's going to increase again this month, in June coming. It's increased twice before. So what that happens, each time you go to the shop and buy food, the food that you bought, basic necessity, bread, rice, basic, just to have basics, you're going to pay an extra 50 rands compared to last year this time. What does it do to your budget? And remember that food is only one small part of what we need as human beings. What about your medical care? What about other resources like your electricity? Remember that it's oil. It affects, it's a powering commodity. It affects electricity. It affects everything. South Africa has been through a lot of things. We had load shedding not so long ago because of whatever reasons and all the other stuff. However, in the midst of the load shedding, coal was still getting sold to other countries, but they were saying that coal is short. So the whole idea here, politicians cannot be trusted. And I think that the world needs to wake up to the reality. The politicians or spiritually gaslighting people. It's spiritual warfare. When a person comes to you and says, vote for me, I will make sure all foreigners must go, because somehow you have a very negative experience with so-called foreigners. Or you've heard that all the problems in your country is because of foreigners. And this is even beyond skin color. This happens even you in UK. It's happening. It's happening in Europe, where the Europeans feel the blacks must leave. Germany, blacks must leave, because they feel somehow everything is so tight now. And we, as the citizens of this country, born here, we are suffering. Why should we suffer and share our own resources with so-called black people? And the black people are told to leave and go back to Africa. In Africa, there's more drama going on there. In Africa, a black person can't go to a certain country, xenophobia and stuff like that. The world is just in chaos at this time. 2026. Politics is very spiritual, because politics affects you on a very subconscious level. The choices that were made in 1884 and 1885 changed the world. It affected my ancestors. Being an African person, I wouldn't have been even where I am at this moment if there wasn't that intervention way, because I'm mixed race, a black person having a relationship with a white person, creating another race. And at the same time, you're not white enough, you're not black enough, you're in between. And I mean, these are the things that people, leaders, political leaders, including the Trumps and all of them, don't consider, that every choice you make, every small choice you make in your political time, you're in politics, you're running a country, it has deep repercussions, very, very deep repercussion. Gaddafi was killed because Gaddafi refused to abide to the American agenda. And he was demonized within his own country, because in your own home, there'll be enemies. There'll be enemies, people that only want to get money. So they're willing for you to come into their country, manipulate them and manipulate you and pay you to say things and create a new narrative that says that your leader is demonic, your leader is what, and then the whole world scream that Gaddafi is this wicked person and all those things. Now, I remember you coming from, he's living in a political Islamic. I'm not saying he was a saint. What I'm trying to say is this, that America always has an agenda. Right? Now they've made their match. You see, they made their match. You bomb me, I bomb you. You keep on bombing me, I bomb you, and then I just stop the business. I close a certain very important part of your business. Right? Then prices go up. Iran is not the only country in the world that manufactures or produces oil. Africa has so much oil. Africa has so much oil. It's unbelievable that Africa is still suffering from infrastructure issues. That Africa is still suffering from deep unemployment and bad medical conditions in hospitals. It's just insane. It's because they write these treaties, like the one done in 1885 by this Bismarck guy, Otto Bismarck, who decided that all countries in Africa are going to be divided amongst all the Western powers, because they needed fuel and resources for their industrial revolution. Okay, so people that had nothing to do with the industrial revolution now have to feel the effects of foreigners, or just say foreigners from other continents coming and taking over in the name of, I'm coming to help you, I'm coming to civilize you, I'm coming to give you God, because the God that you serve is a demon, is demonic. I'll give you this religion. I'm speaking about both Islam and both Christianity, because they are brother and sister. They're brother and sister, Islam and Christianity, stemming from the Jewish traditions and religions. And it's all about, when I have control of your mind, if I can control your mind and what you believe in, I have control over you. And that's how they did it, basically. right? Okay, we have those traitors within the different tribes that did sell lands and give lands and even give their daughters to marry the settlers or the foreigners. You understand? Now we have a situation in Africa. Southern Africa's land is not owned by any families. It's all owned by the government or the so-called trusts, investors that own most of the lands in Southern Africa. While Africa, majority of Africa, still have families and tribes owning land. They still have the power of the land. Because you see, the difference between Southern African history and colonization is much different to what happened in the other areas of Africa. South Africa, per se, used to be much larger than what it is now. We had Lesotho as part of South Africa. We had Namibia as part of South Africa. We had Swati Kingdom, the Swati Kingdom as part of South Africa. South Africa was much larger than at that time, basically, right? Especially when first, they say first the Dutch came and then they ruled for a while. Okay, took ownership, and then afterwards the British came and ruled for a while. Now, in these times, 142 years ago, there were tribes in all these countries. There was a way of living. There was spiritual practices in all these African countries. Every single African environment or area had some sorts of tribal control, family control over it. Now you have somebody who comes in and does what we call divide and conquer. Okay, you are Zulu, your neighbor is Pedi, your neighbor is not like you, your neighbor is your enemy, your neighbor wants to steal from you. Divide and conquer. So they went around to all these countries doing these things. Divide and conquer. Ghanaians must not get along with Nigerians. Congolese must not get along with their neighbors. You see, divide and conquer. I'm your savior. I can give you a religion because what you've been doing is demonic. And look at you, you're walking around half naked. Look at you, you don't have mirrors. They started giving all these so-called sophisticated technologies. Gaslighting people. You understand? They used gaslighting and manipulation, and that is a spiritual attack. Now we have spells. So whenever you write a treaty, whenever you write something down, it's a spell. Whenever you write a contract and an agreement, it is a spell. So we have hundreds of spells around Africa, written over Africa. That's why Africa will always be sunk into what it is now, because it's a spiritual stronghold. Some people, clairvoyance people, see it as demons or what you call over Africa because of all those contracts, all those agreements that were signed with the so-called African leaders and royal families, because everybody wanted to be close to the powerful ones. The powerful ones were the white settlers, the colonization powers, the French, the Italians, the Portuguese. They were the powerful ones because they're coming with new technologies and new ideology, which seems to be more superior than your own African culture. So I bless our ancestors' shame because they were gaslighted. And still, we still get gaslighted now as people of color. The majority of the world is people of color, but they're gaslighted to feel somehow they're still inferior to white people. And now we have the economical system, which is about the money. Capitalism is not about color. Capitalism is about money power. Money power is very important. So you can be as black as night, but if you have money behind your family, name, whatever, then you have power. Okay. Now we have people fighting over a land and territory that doesn't even belong to them. It long was taken away from them silently by the system that was embedded in South Africa. Back to South African history, guys. Back to South African history. Very interesting history. The funniest thing, when we were in school in the 80s, in primary school and like in the 90s in high school, they never give us a big picture, the true picture of African history. Exactly what happened of global history. They only get painted They told us about Van Riebeeck and all those things. Painting is this colonization process as we were saving the black people. Oh, they needed our help. We were saving them. You understand? So we are the heroes. Van Riebeeck and company are the heroes. Now remember that Van Riebeeck has children and children's children. There's a bloodline along those lines. And he was not the only one, because the Dutch came first, then the British came first, and then the Dutch took control again with the apartheid. Okay, so when somebody walks into your home and tells you that you're lesser than in him, that he's now in control of your house, he's going to tell you what you need to eat, where to move, and what to do. He's going to give you a document. You must carry this document, a pass. My mom lived through the pass process, because my mom was born in 1947. She's now 80 years old. She told a lot of stories. I come from a black background. I'm mixed breed, but I come from a black background. I know the apartheid stories. I know everything that happened there. A lot of things, atrocities, painful things that happened. Very, very painful things. But we need to understand that there's a lot of things that were also not told to us. Leaders sold their own people to get money and get power. Unfortunately, and that's how it is in politics. It happened in Ghana and other countries for slavery as well, where the people, the royal families, the so-called leaders in the communities were busy trading with the white what you call it, colonization powers. And the slave trade was a dirty trade, because people were selling people. The same black people were selling black people to the white colonization powers or countries because of favor. Keep us powerful, keep our family powerful, keep the money coming in. Black people had black slaves, and that really hit me hard when I heard that black people had black slaves. Even in Haiti, a beautiful country, the history is so rich. Haiti, another historical fact here, Haiti's slavery was so bad, so bad. They even had caste system there. They had whites. They had big whites and small whites, just weird, because they were interbreeding with the local people. So a small white is somebody who's a mixed breed. That's not purely fully white from France, because Haiti was colonized by France. Haiti's revolution is very interesting, because the Haiti revolution triggered the French Revolution in France, where the people with power, with money, were abusing people without money and power. Your life, quality of life, depended on your skin color and also your family that you belong to. Does your family have money, or do you have money? So it was like double issue, skin color and money. The Haiti story is quite interesting. And it's also very triggering as well, to see how these people actually, the French, really damaged the Haiti consciousness. Now, remember that when you are under attack, you're going to now use something else. You're going to reach out to the deepest, darkest, violent part of you. You will pull that out to try and help you. You will use violence to try and help free you from this spiritual attack, because it's not only a physical thing, it's also spiritual. Slavery is not a good thing. Now, there's two types of slavery: the physical slavery, right? And there's now economical slavery. So economical slavery is the free market system. People that can operate in a free market, Malawi, or people with money. If you are suppressing and keeping the money out of the reach of the masses, and you are now monopolizing it, you're keeping it to yourself, growing your ancestral wealth, and keeping other people poor because you don't want competition. You give them an education that's useless. An education doesn't tell them how to make money. Education doesn't tell them how to build generational wealth. You keep them down, but you give them political power. A vote. You got a vote, but you don't have the means to make the real power, which is money. You understand? To get money, right? And then I'll add another blend. I put religion into it. Your religion will tell you that you should be happy where you are now with poverty and only be looking forward to your reward of wealth in heaven. Gaslighting. That this God, this Christian God, only wants you to have wealth and abundance when you are dead. So these are the things that have actually been used to gaslight masses of people from one generation to another. You understand, where people become so content with nothing and just happy to live in shacks. A lot of African countries want to know, how do South African people, black people, live in shacks? Okay. The shack history is very deep in South Africa. Okay. My mom, when she ran away from Eastern Cape, at the time, South Africa had like a border system within itself. South Africa had a border system in apartheid time. There was the homelands, okay? The homelands where people of black, of color, the Xhosas had their own homelands. The Zulus had their own homeland, Zululand, okay? That kind of thing. And then the city, the business city centers, and then surrounding white suburbs at that time. So the people used to commute from the homelands to kind of find jobs in the cities like Durban or even Joburg, right? But you had to like abide to a certain type of border law kind of thing, okay? So African history is so much different to other countries' histories. Not to say that South African history is much more interesting, but it's just the flavor is different because the way things were done here and the atrocities, the social economical atrocities were so deep here using religion. You understand? The white people seen as more superior while the black people are nothing. And why do we keep on revisiting this? Because we are where we are now in South Africa because of the very same thing. We are reaping from what was really been sowed. And we don't understand that if we change a direction, we will probably start reaping something different. Instead of hate, we can reap something else. Our history teaches us that our ancestors were involved in a certain thing. They really experienced oppression. We see how the South African history and economical problems that we have here is linked to the whole of Africa as well. Because South Africa is part of Africa. It's not floating somewhere, an island isolated from the rest of Africa. Okay, now we see for this past couple of months, bad news about South Africa. Not all South Africans don't or want foreigners or hate black people, other black people. No, not. That's not the true thing. The true thing is here that we have a lot of people, different belief systems and opinions in our country. Peace is what most of us want. You do your thing, you respect my space, I respect yours. Violence and crime should be controlled by the government. There shouldn't be people wanting to be the police now. You're a citizen, but you want to be making all sorts of things. The government you vote for every 5 years is the government that should be dealing with your issues. You should be writing a letter to your president, whatever, and talking about these things instead of you going around and manipulating people, gaslighting people, and also attacking people because they're not from your country. There are South Africans in Zimbabwe. There are South Africans in Botswana. There are South Africans in Namibia. There's South Africans in Nigeria. There's South Africans in Ghana. They've traveled too as well. South Africans also travel. Maybe not in a large scale, but South Africans also move all over the world. So while you're thinking that that person there next door who speaks another language from another country is my enemy, and that white person that's from Europe is not my enemy but my savior, how strange is that? Don't you see that it's all about the intention? The color means nothing. What are you intending to do here in this country? Are you here to abuse, to take, or you here to add something? And people don't see it like that. The only thing they see when people are hungry, and especially at this time with economical economical tension in this country, people are very, very upset. People from the lower levels of the economy, suffering financially or very, very worried. Rita, some from Rita. How are you, my lovey? Nice to meet you, Maswiri Pai. Nice to meet you. I'm from South Africa, and it's nice to have you here. I hope you're doing well. Today I'm talking about how politics is spiritual. Don't let your politicians make you believe something that's not true, because it's all about gaslighting. It's spiritual warfare. When somebody comes to you and says, okay, I want you to vote me, I promise you A, B, C, and D. I give you all these manifestos or how I'm going to make your life better. Down the line, my lovelies, that person's life is better. He has an income. He's now an MP. He's a minister in politics. He's now driving those expensive cars. He has a driver. He has everything, but you still waiting to be assisted. And I keep on promising every year. And this is happening not only in Africa, even in Europe, in America, it's happening everywhere. Politicians are gaslighters. I'll say call politicians the antichrist, because they're very demonic. They always want to take from other people. They'll gaslight you, manipulate you, turn you against your brother, turn you against your neighbor, because they want something. The intention, they look for your weakness. What is your weakness? Your weakness. And in Southern Africa, the weakness here is the economical power. It's the weakest for most people. Unemployment is very high in this country. Very, very high in this country. You understand? For many, many reasons why it's high. There are a group of people that don't want to work, unfortunately. There are a group of people that don't want to work. And I know that's the truth. You cannot deny that. Maybe a small group, but there is a group of people. So you're looking at unemployment holistically. You're not considering the ones that really want to contribute to the economy by working. Other people don't want to work. They're waiting for handouts. They're waiting for things to be given to them. So they look for the easy way out by blaming a person who happens to be a foreigner. You won't blame your politicians. You won't ask your politicians or take them to task. No, you will go to the soft targets. Not a soft target that doesn't have police and bodyguards. The soft targets who can't even speak your language. A soft target that's afraid of being deported or afraid of being attacked. You go to that person. That's been a coward. You're not facing who you should be facing for your problem, because crime is an international problem. Corruption in Africa is so rife. Only your government's supposed to have a political system that gets rid of crime and corruption, not you screaming and shouting at other people. And the murders are terrible. When that Zimbabwean guy was burnt alive the other year because of the same xenophobia thing. Now, whenever there's economical problems in South Africa, whenever there's prices increasing and things are very tough in this country, xenophobia sparks, because xenophobia is triggered by lack. Xenophobia is triggered by fear of not having enough, of not being able to survive here economically. Xenophobia is linked on that. And it's goes across all cultures, skin colors. It's not just a black on black thing. It can also be a white and white thing. It can be both at the same time. As I look at UK. UK had their own surge last year, where the local so-called British people were not happy with the so-called foreigners that are coming in their country and taking their jobs. That's because they felt in struggle. They felt as if they lacking something that they needed to lash out. So that's what xenophobia is about, guys. Xenophobia is not exclusively for black people. Every single person, go to Europe as well. When people are pushed against the wall and they can't survive economically, they will look for somebody to blame. And that's a spiritual problem. Where it's coming from, okay? Where is it coming from? Especially in Africa. Being a continent that was colonized for a long time. And it's still colonized now as well, because colonization hasn't really stopped. People still fly into African countries and take the resources and go. It's like what happened in Haiti. Haiti is quite interesting, because Haiti, in that time when they slid slavery in Haiti and France was controlling Haiti or colonizing Haiti, there was a lot of people who owned lands in Haiti that were French, but they were not living there. So they used to fly in from France to Haiti to take whatever the money, the income that, because it's a business. Haiti is only a business ground for them. And very few of them going to live there, you understand? And that's what's happening now. In Africa, we have a lot of people who own a lot of resources, a lot of lands because of their family inherited from their family, or they had the money to buy some mines in Africa or pieces of the mines, whatever. Right? So what they do, they fly in, come in, they build a family home, a holiday home. I knew, like in Cape Town, they build a holiday home. They fly in. This is a place where they want to come and have holiday during winter, but they know they have resources because the homes are so huge and humongous. I mean, really. I mean, no ordinary standard South African can live like that. Go to Plettenberg. Is it Plettenberg or Plettenberg or something in Cape Town, where most of the places owned by foreign nationals, white European foreign nationals. And those are not touched because they're not near the people that are suffering on the grassroots. The people at the bottom don't know and don't see this on top, what's going on, these elites that are also coming and taking from this country, making everything very expensive here. You don't see that part because you're only worried about your survival, what I can eat today, what I can have. Now, you're not thinking about the whole picture. You don't understand politics on a global, even a national level. South African policy is very interesting. And as a black person, I don't take any sides. As a spiritual teacher, I'm very objective. I'm not taking any sides. But I know here the cause of the problem that we're having now in Africa is division. Africa is too divided because we're too afraid of each other. Somehow there's some sort of competition or whatever. I don't know for what reason. We cannot unite like how Europeans have united nicely. And recently, I think UK moved out of the European Union. They have their own currency, the euro. And it's very new. It's not something that's been happening for a long time. But I suppose they spoke about it for a very long time and it came to an agreement. So each European country is now backed and has a stake in the European Union. Now, these are what people like Malema is trying to help establish in Africa. But that cannot be done when people don't see the bigger picture here. Divide and conquer. When you divide and conquer a continent, you can control that continent very well. You can own that continent. And they did it right through colonization. Colonization is supposed to have gotten finished, but it's not because they colonized your mind. They know that you operate from fear. The poorest of the poorest people in Africa operate from fear. It's about survival. I'll even sell my mother or even my soul for me to get something. It's about survival. It's very, very sad. And that's what you're seeing now playing out on social media. And it's not a whole of South Africa, sweetie pies, okay? Because a lot of South African places are very peaceful and people are living okay with foreigners, foreign nationals, both black and white. Because we learned one thing, that you need to look past people's color and culture and get to know that person. We work in companies with different people from different backgrounds, from Japan, from China. We work in companies where there's a group of people, all mixed race and everybody and everything, right? And we work just fine. But whenever there's economical squeeze or problem in the global atmosphere, then that's what happens. Remember, politics is linked to spirituality. Politics is linked to spirituality, something we need to understand that, right? So it affects us on an energetic level, every decision we make, because human beings want survival. They want to thrive, they want to have plenty, I don't want to suffer. And now we depending on the system of voting, democracy, to try and help us, but now it's failing because now we're learning that our politicians are a bunch of gaslighters. They have their own businesses. Ramaphosa is a billionaire. The guy is worth over 8 billion. When we came into power for his first time as president, he was worth around 6 billion. He's a businessman. That's how he made his money, right? And we all know that businessmen also are shady as hell. But let me just continue. Right, so These are the things that we don't understand. Now you have a businessman. People were saying, "Oh yeah, he's a great fit after Zuma." Zuma's era was another drama on its own. The politics in South Africa is so stupid and painful because it's driven purely on emotions. There's no logic. There's no thinking around. It's about how I feel. It's about tribalism. Tribalism is very ripe in South Africa. Okay, there's nothing wrong with people being proud of their tribes. Nothing wrong with that. But then when you're making as if your tribe is the most superior and the only important one, that has a voice in a whole country with 11 languages, 11 to 12 languages, say 11 languages, because sign language is the last language we have as an official language here in South Africa, right? But the 11 languages are all linked to all the different cultures in Southern Africa, and there's plenty. There's Pedi, there's Sutu, there's Tswana, there's Shangaan, you name them, there's so many others. However, because of history, the Zulu kingdom or the Zulu royal family or Zulus had an arrangement and agreement with the previous government. When apartheid ended, the king was given a big masses of land in KZN, KwaZulu Natal, and now they have put it into what they call it now. But anyway, they manage it. Okay, they manage it. Basically, and the government still gives them money every year because they're the only recognized royals in the whole of South Africa. The Xhosas, all the other cultures, their royal families and royal lineages are not recognized. Mind you, Mandela was from a royal lineage. Late Papa Mandela was from a royal lineage, but they're not recognized. The only people that are recognized are the Zulus. Why so? Because of Shaka Zulu. Look at Shaka Zulu history itself. Okay, Shaka was a warrior. He was a murderer because he killed to get what he wants, basically. It's either my way or the highway. On his mother's death, so many women were killed because he felt his mother couldn't go alone. Isn't that madness? That guy's history is so full of blood, but then again, I have no issue with that, right? Because it's just history and we were not there. And at that time, it was normal for people to be so violent. It was the status quo of the world globally. You understand? We had European tribes also fighting with violence in their areas as well. So at that time, that's how it was. It was about violence to control and dominate. Now it's money and power. Money goes with power. Then you need to be more violent for you to control people who are afraid of you. That was your power. Now it's money. Now people like all the modern billionaires and trillionaires that are there now have more power because of money, but they cannot even fight. Because if it was an old system, they wouldn't even survive. They won't have any power because you see how it changed. It changed that way. So at that time, it was a violent time and everything was done by violence. And it was status quo. It's how it was. I will not criticize, but I can comment because I am South African and I can comment. But my question is, why is only one royal family recognized and the other, just say other 10 royal, cultures don't, their royals are not recognized. But they do have royals there as well. As I said, Mandela was from we call it royal, it was like, what do they call them? Chiefs that controlled the areas. You understand? That's how it is. Basically, different to, like, for example, the British monarchy and stuff like that, or even the European monarchy, or even the Arab monarchy. Right? There's so many monarchies here. That's all here now. But the most vocal and seen one is the British one. And in Southern Africa, they speak about the Zulu monarchy. Right? South Africa is for everybody that's living within it. Go to the constitution. South African constitution is very liberal. Every single person that's living in this country, the country belongs to them according to the constitution. But there are people that are actually disputing that. So these are the things that we are playing out because of, number one, the inability to see the bigger picture. The inability to see bigger picture because you want to hold the power for yourself and make yourself powerful because you want to be recognized as the most powerful tribe, whatever it may be. You understand the most important that now you will now represent South Africa. Now you're busy telling foreigners must go and all those things. What about other people living in this country? Don't they have a say as well? Because crime is affecting every single person, not only one group of people. Crime should be dealt with by the government, not vigilantes. You cannot be telling the government, because you voted them, you gave them the control. You gave them your vote. That's why voting is very, very sketchy. When most people vote, they don't know what they're doing. The power that you're handing over. And the funniest thing now with the last elections, okay, ANC was first isolated as a party at the beginning of the elections. Was it last year? Yeah. Yeah, 2 years ago. At the beginning of the elections, they came in as a party, one party, ANC. ANC was losing votes. They didn't do very well. So what they did, they went to all the other new little mushroom parties and they pulled them in and they told them to join them, what they call it, the governments of national unity, to give ANC more power. And these foolish, ambitious people decided, well, we'll do that because we can get a piece of the pie. At least we're going to be in parliament. At least we're going to be getting something. We'll be driving nice cars and living in nice houses, because it was never about the people. It's all about what they can get. So Gates and McKenzie and company all went in. They all joined, all of them, all the small little parties. And the only one that never joined was EFF. Now, remember that Malema has his own agenda. Malema is from ANC. Malema is of a child of ANC. When he was young, he was in ANC. He understands how ANC operates. He knows them very well. So he stood back and refused to join the governments of national unity. Because when you have a government of national unity, you can't oppose them because you're working for them. You're laying in the enemy's camp. You have an agreement. So politics is funny like that. You don't understand that there's a lot of agreements that are made behind the voters' back. The voter doesn't know. People were in shock. People were in shock. Government of national unity, and they made it so nicely. They put a nice bow on it. Make it look like it's so wonderful, like it's going to do something different in this country. Okay? Even DA, they all went and joined so they can be part of the ANC gang. That's why I see it, because still you're supporting people that you have gotten out. You told your voters that you're going to kick them out and they're not going to be in control anymore. But then behind your voters' back, you go and you join them. So it's so that you can have a seat on the table and eat the national pie. You understand? Have the piece of national pie. Instead of you getting rid of this party that's been around for about 30 years or so, that hasn't done much for South Africa. That's just my opinion. Okay, everybody has their own opinions about how this whole thing played out. But it was a shocker that elections ended differently from any other election in the history of South African politics. Okay, now politics is very spiritual because it affects our day-to-day living. It affects our schooling. It affects our infrastructure. Politics affects our work, our economy. Politics affects our medical care. Politics affects everything. We cannot divorce it and think, okay, politics is not important. It's so important. Look what Trump is doing in his little country, all the chaos he has caused. First term, second term, same drama. First term was about borders, separating people, stating and claiming your country as close to other countries, closed to other countries, and yet the people in that country are Spanish, Italians, Jewish, Europeans, all came in years ago to make America, but now you're closing it now because you feel it's fit. You see, the whole idea of this whole xenophobia is caused by Trump, basically, because he kind of fueled the modern xenophobia thing. It's not about blackness. It's about not wanting foreigners. It's about scarcity. It's about trying to keep away competition. They don't want, they call it competition. Another person comes from another country, is competing with me, or is coming to take my territory. These are the things that are happening right globally. It's a sad state of affairs. So as individuals, understand that politics is about manipulating and gaslighting. If you don't do your research and see the high level of things on the global concepts of politics, what's happening in overseas is spilling over in Africa, in Asia, spilling over, it affects us all. So now this war, the oil wars and stuff like that. Why can't people just come to an agreement? Why should you have wars What was the reason of bombing and bombing up and down? What was that for? For people that are supposed to be civilized. Okay, we had World War One, we World War Two, and never did anything good for humans. Nothing. Where there's war, there's no winner, because even the so-called winner is also affected negatively, either economically, spiritually, or physically. He's always affected. Now, 2026 is saying that, are we going to continue like this as human beings and blame other people and not take accountability for our own choices we're making? Are we going to address the problem, not the symptom? Go to the root of the problem, of the economical problem in your country. Go to the roots, right? And consider when you're voting, who you're voting for and why you're voting. Are you voting out of your stomach emptiness, that you're hungry, someone's promising you something, you're voting because of that? Or what are you voting for? You understand? Because human beings are very powerful. And when we give our power to these so-called gaslighting leaders, it causes problems. I mean, it's proven even spirituality and religion. When a whole church group of people give their power to the pastor who's gaslighting them and all those things, it doesn't end very well. There's abuse. And then you say to yourself, if only I saw the red flags, if only I did not only think about myself. The pastor's promising me this. I know that he's doing these things, but I'm keeping quiet because I'm gaining money. I'm gaining something. And that's the problem. It happened even in Ghana, in the slave trade, where the wealthy families were selling their own black people for money and having a relationship with the white powers. You understand? So we have to take accountability. What am I doing in my own little life? How am I treating other people? What is my point of view when it comes to so-called foreigners or people from other countries? We're all human beings. It's just sad that we don't understand. We're all human beings. Every single person deserves safety. Every single person deserves belonging. Every single person deserves acceptance. No matter if you're black or blue or white, or you're rich or you're poor, every single person needs that comfort and safety. So if you have not as yet, my lovies, my channel is about spirituality, self-development, the human condition as well, right? So go ahead and consider subscribing to my channel. My channel is a growing channel, it's an African channel, right? And I'm not getting much exposure. So the more people that subscribe to my channel, then more people can see my channel and see my content as well. So go ahead and subscribe, consider subscribing and joining my community, my growing community. Okay, so I'm just about to close my live now, right? Now remember that I'm not talking about taking sides. I see both sides here. I see the South African poor people side. I see what they're going through, because the people in Sandton are not striking. The people in these are all the wealthy areas of South Africa. The people in Sandton, the people in Ballito here in KZN are not striking. Okay, it's the people that are feeling the effects of the global crunch, the economical crunch, right? The global economical crunch in this country with high employment. It's very, very bad. Okay, so now the political, I would say, political leaders that are wanting seats in parliament, because this woman is not in parliament. She's one of the wannabes, right? The lady that's running this march, what. She doesn't have a seat in parliament. Okay, so she has ambitions. This is my opinion, right? To get there, and that's okay as well, because I mean the others got there because of the same tactic. Gates and McKenzie's party did the same thing. We don't want foreigners, what, and then they got a lot of support from people, because a lot of people who believe that the foreigners their problem because they're suffering from what we call xenophobic way of seeing things. They're afraid. They think that so-called foreigners are here to compete with them for jobs, and yet in this country you cannot get a job if you don't have an ID. You must have an ID. You must be a South African citizen for you to get a job. Same as in let me see, I think the other countries doing the same thing. Is it New Zealand? In New Zealand's locals are first preference. If you're a foreigner, there's a special type of companies or industries that employ foreigners, and there's a certain quota as well. But the majority of the people that must be employed are local people. The Kiwis must be first giving first permit option. In South Africa, it's something like that. It's very similar because BEE says that the black South African person gets a job before a foreigner. And if that foreigner is employed, in most cases, he doesn't earn as much as a South African. And these are the things, because BEE was put in by the same government before the governments of national unity, ANC, put BEE in place to try and create a balance in South Africa. But BEE or triple BEE is not working anymore because of a lot of reasons. It's not working anymore for a lot of reasons. Number one, there's populations growing very fast in this country and job opportunities are not growing fast. Family numbers are increasing, meaning people's needs are increasing. Okay. And then you get something like scarcity because now we have commodities that are expensive. They get more expensive because there's more demand for it. You understand? Then we have international issues of petrol prices, oil wars and stuff. It's also adding to it as well. Political issues that cause the rand in South Africa to drop. It also affects the economy as well. So it's a big picture. You can't be thinking of such a huge, complex problem as xenophobia as just linked to hating somebody. It's not about that. It's about fear. It's about people wanting to survive and they're feeling they cannot survive. So they feel that the one closest to me, the soft target, I will blame that person. Not understanding that there's so many foreign nationals working in this country. In other areas, like they doctors and they are IT specialists, a lot of them, and they're adding good work to this country. They're making this country's economy also blossom as well. But now you're going to check the person at the bottom because you don't understand the concepts of economy. Go and speak to your government. Go and ask your government to start intervening to make the economy better. Why are we so highly taxed in a country where there's such high employment? Currency is not so strong, but you tax so much. The increases we get every year is very small compared to the inflation. Very, very small. And this year, from January till now, we're going to June. This is all pressure from last year, spilling from into last year to this year in terms of economical pressures on the ordinary lower level group of people that are living below the breadline. You understand? It's like that. They are complaining. So they're looking for somebody to blame, and they told, no, it's a foreigner. So now they believe it's a foreigner, and they say it's crime. Now, these are two little concepts, foreigners and crime. Crime is something that needs to be dealt with. It's not a right thing. You should be dealing with crime, but not the ordinary citizen, the government, the police force, must deal with these things. They should do their work very well. Recently, the drug story, the drug trafficking in South Africa, they actually said some police guy, in KZN, some high-level police guy confessed and told the truth that basically there's certain police, high-ranked police people in the police force involved in the drug cartel in South Africa. They are the drug leaders. Now, if you have a policeman who's a drug leader, obviously he's going to make sure that nobody is caught. Obviously, he'll make sure that these drugs are moving smoothly around the country. And then you're blaming a foreigner for drugs. And now you're blaming them for what? You're taking your jobs. And now you're blaming them for crime. Go to the prisons in South Africa. How many of them are foreigners? These are things we need to understand. Is our government doing the right thing? Or they're managing this country very well? Why are you blaming somebody else because he came to try and find a better life in South Africa? And your brothers and sisters have done the same thing. They've left the country to other countries. I know one black lady recently went to America, and because she couldn't stand the pressure that was going on in South Africa and stuff like that. She doesn't understand it. So she relocated to America and she's working in America. There are people, there are South Africans working and living all over the world. And some of them come home when they're tired of living there. You can't tell a person, okay, I'm giving you only 10 years to live here. Okay, unless it's a condition of your visa. Okay, governments decide on that. not the local people. We're only going to allow Ghanaians to be here for 5 years. That's the government's rule. The government is going to do that, right? So there is a feeling that somehow the South Africans are saying that the government is more for foreigners than the local people, which is not the truth. Because, as I said, there's laws in this country that actually protect the local people, right? And if there's crime that's done against a local person by a foreign national, the police should be doing their job. Because wherever you go in the world, you're going to find crime. Wherever you go in the world, you'll find peace and crime residing in the same place. You know what I'm trying to say? Because where there's a lot of, example, poverty, there's an increase in crime. As I said, then it gets xenophobic tendencies because people are so poor, they're struggling. People are having a problem economically. Now people go to shopping or in South Africa monthly and most of the time and they get paid. They want to buy groceries, but they can only afford to buy certain things. They can't buy everything because things are expensive. Now you find yourself deciding, what should I buy? I need to eat, but I also need to have medication. I need to have vitamins. Or I need to eat, but I also want to have entertainment. I want to drink and all those things. So what they do, they leave the food and go for the alcohol. Okay, again, a long-term effects of people making negative choices can also affect the spirituality of people in the country. You get what I'm trying to say? Alcoholism is a big problem. And people rather, because things are expensive, food is expensive. I want to have food and alcohol, my entertainment, okay? However, I only have enough money, this amount of money. I'm only going to buy alcohol and to hell with the food. God will take care of it all. You get what I'm trying to say? So that's another way of way people, and that's a global issue. It's happening everywhere in the world where people have to decide because things are expensive, food is expensive. I'm a vegetarian, vegetables are expensive. I don't eat meat. Vegetables are expensive. Imagine cabbage and your fruits, and you must have a diversity of different vegetables as well. You understand? And you need beans and you need lentils because you need diversity when you're eating to be healthy. Okay. So these are the things that really affect people, and everything is spiritual, guys. Back to my point here with politics being a spiritual experience. Politics is spiritual because you're giving your power away when you vote for somebody or a party. You're giving them the authority over you to make choices on your behalf. So when a government sits back and watches other people attacking so-called foreigners and does nothing about it and say it's not xenophobic, they're denying the fact that it's xenophobic, which is quite shocking. But anyway, it is what it is. You get my points. They're trying to say, they say it's crime, it's criminology, whatever it is. But it is, in its sense, is xenophobic because it's all based on foreigners and the same nationality, black people, black against black, because they are easy targets. They can't go to Sands and they can't go to Belito because they don't, you know what I'm trying to say? These are the things what South Africa is currently going on. So it's nice for other African countries to see and understand that South Africa is actually going through a lot of things here, and they're only showing you one part. The economical system in this country is not easy for the ordinary citizen. It's very expensive. High, very high unemployment share. The industries are not growing. Businesses only like private companies. Government doesn't get involved in the employment apparently. As I say, they don't create jobs. So these are things we need to understand. So when you watch these videos about South Africa, number one, not every South African is violent. Not every South African is hating black foreign nationals. No, some of us have families in those other areas of the world. You understand? So not every single person in South Africa is hateful, and not every single person in South Africa is also racist. Although racism is such a big thing globally, you understand? That's a human condition. So we need to have some compassion and understanding. Right? Like you could hear certain things about certain countries, and all of a sudden you have an idea that these people are wicked or they're demonic or they're murderers or whatever, but it's not like that. You understand? So yeah. Anyway, as I said, if you have not as yet, as I'm closing now, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, Sweetie Pies, okay? And have a great Sunday. Yesterday I had a beautiful event I attended. It was so wonderful. I met wonderful people. I was doing some readings, my first live readings, face-to-face readings for some certain people in my area that I went to, the events. So I'm so excited about having more events to read tarot, because I do tarot readings as well, right? Having teaching people about tarot and stuff like that, right? Which is quite interesting, because your human expansion is only possible when you are exposed to different information and different viewpoints, and you get to understand that there's so many different perceptions in this world, and what you see on social media or reading the books is one person's experience, not the total experience of life, right? That's the important part of being human, is learning. And my channels about learning and exploring your spirituality, right? Taking ownership of your own choices in your life. So anyway, let me go, guys. Have a great week further. And I wanted to do a reading, but now I ran out of time. I even forgot that I was supposed to do a reading, a collective reading, right, with tarot reading. But I will be doing one on my TikTok. I will be doing a TikTok live now as I end this YouTube live, because I do tarot readings on my TikTok every Sundays and Saturdays. Okay, guys, so have a great Saturday further. And if you want to join my TikTok, it's with the same name, manifest underscore with underscore Sisian. You'll find me on TikTok there, and you can follow me on TikTok as well. So have a great Sunday and a great week further, and be kind to yourself and others. And remember that love and unity is where we want to be. We want to have love and unity across Africa, a global love and unit, no matter what skin color you are, because you're only playing a character. Your skin color is not the true you. It's only a character that you're playing. And your culture is only a character you're playing. You are divine source, having a human experience, and love is the only path to happiness and joy and stability in this reality. So have a great week further, guys. Ciao. See you next time.